TEDx, or to just talk. That's all about communication styles. Now, this is what I want you to do. I don't want you to sit back and relax. Come close to your screen. Sit up a little bit. Okay? Oh, you're all doing it. Thank you. Now, take some notes, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some aspects of communication style that I've experienced. Communication is by far fundamental and essential, be it whether you're at work, at home, or even in school. So think about it for a while. How do we communicate? Here's a tool that I've used for over 10 years. It is called DISC. DISC is a psychometric profiling tool. D, I, S, and C. These are the 4 acronyms. It has a set of 24 questions and allows you to profile your own behaviors plus the way you communicate. One thing I found useful with this particular tool, it allows you to compartmentalize and crystallize people that you meet for the first time. For instance, DISC. What is DISC about? Is it disc jockey? Is it the disk drive? What is that? Let me run through that with you. D stands for dominant. I stands for influencing. S for steadiness. And C for being conscientious. Now, folks, this is not a conjecture. This is not based on my research. This is based on fundamental research done on this behavioral tool. Let me describe to you each style and my experience at looking at people, watching them primarily. There was a club I belonged to. It was the first club I joined. I joined because it was just across my home. Well, there was always a senior Toastmaster who was usually the language evaluator, and he will have his word for the day, to end the whole session. And this is how he will end the session. I'm going to demonstrate. He won't wear a cap. Good evening. All of you have shared your speeches. Now, the table topic master, his use of vocabulary was absurd and abhorrent. Why did we bring him in? What about the rest of you? Couldn't you have done some homework? Practiced a little bit? Where's the grammar? Oh my goodness, where are we going with Toastmasters? Now, I tell you what, let me just end the whole thing. Now, all of you here, if you want to be good in Toastmastering, buy my book. It's called Google, Boogle, and Cuddle with English. And with that, I'm going to end my evaluation of your language. Well, that was somewhat aloof, wasn't it? It was also a bit condescending, and it was also direct. Seriously, I mean, that happened in some of the sessions. I didn't like it. Okay, let's look at a second style of talking to people. And this is all about being influencing. Now, you might have met this person called Jenny. People who belong to this category, they are very chatty. If you ever talk to Jenny, she has this pristine pink lips. She comes to you and she smiles not only with her lips, she smiles with her eyes. She looks into your eyes and she peers into your soul. And she's talking to you one-to-one. I've seen that with you, Shawik. She's talking to you and she'll probably tap you on your elbow, tap you on the hand, on your shoulder. That happens. So people who are influencing tend to be touchy and feely. They are people-oriented. They want to get close to people. And what about people who are in this particular group? The way they communicate, they focus on possibilities and solutions. And then again, then you have the third style of communication. And if you're following me, it is S, steadiness. And I've seen one member in our club who personified this. Very, very steady, soft-spoken, thoughtful. She brings in gravitas when she gives her speeches. And she goes out of her way to help others. People who belong to this style of communicating, they tend to listen more than talk. And they're nice people to be around with. And that leaves us with the last group of people and their communication style, and that is the C style of communicating. What is the C style of communication? See, people in this category are also known as being conscientious. It is a mouthful. Yep, we have got 3 syllables. You need to learn that. You need to learn that. And you could also equate them of being careful when they communicate their thoughts or their ideas. People in this category are usually very, very detailed, very, very analytical. They will do their homework, they will fact check, and they will not conjecture and give their own opinions from the hip. For instance, we have a language evaluator, and I observe him quite a bit. And he was our gallant knight who looked after the club as a past president before. Wee Sian usually is very careful in the way he approaches his speeches. He brings in a bit of research when he shares his opinions. So folks, if you can identify a person who's conscientious, don't go into an argument. Number one, don't go into a debate. High chance you will lose because this individual will share with you statistics, facts, historical facts, and it's going to put you in the losing ground. Now, what about me? What about me? What is my style? Okay, you've been observing me off and on. I think more off than on, but today on the screen. So you are observing my behavior. You're also looking at the way I speak. So my style is one that hovers around all the 4 quadrants. So my take to you is this: be adaptable. Don't sit in one particular quadrant, but be one who's able to communicate in all the 4 quadrants when you communicate. Now let me share with you a bit more. I would like to share with you some statistical facts. Here's one. People who communicate in the D quadrant are usually very, very direct. And the tendency for them to tell you things the way it is what they do. 19% of the population will belong to this particular category. And then you have the I quadrant, people who communicate with the influencing style. 34% of the folks are in that particular quadrant. And second lastly, you have the S quadrant. 38% of the people are in this particular quadrant. And lastly, you have about 14% who belong to the C quadrant. Where do I belong naturally? I belong to the S quadrant in a very natural way. When I'm in my cocoon, that's where I'll be. However, my work requires me to be in the different quadrants that I need to be at based on circumstances. So folks, this is all about communication style. The last thing I want to put across is this: when you communicate, better to be nice than direct.